If you enjoyed the channel and our video content and would like to support us, you can do this in a couple of ways. You can sign up to our Patreon site, which is a monthly subscription to one of our 4 tiers, each giving you something different from early access interviews up to exclusive unseen footage. There's also the option of a one-off donation via PayPal, which allows you the option to donate an amount of your choice. Both options really help to keep this channel going and to continue putting out regular content for you good folk. So please take a look at aircrewinterview.tv/donate, and I thank you in advance. Thank you and enjoy. Yeah, let's talk about your time on the F-16. What was that transition like? Was that your choice or did you just get posted there?
So I will be honest on that. Because I was born and raised here, I had this very, I wouldn't say right, I would say wrong mindset of spending my whole career in Suda Bay, okay, here in Hanya. And that is wrong. That's the wrong mentality for a pilot that aspires to be a good fighter pilot. So I say that to everyone that probably will listen to our podcast. So I have this wrong impression that I should stay in the A7 because of I would like to stay in Hanya, in Crete. When the initially call came for people going abroad in the States to transition to F-16, I didn't apply for that because I was hoping that the A7 we will stay here in Crete, but this was not the case. So after the first couple of people went to the state, there was another call for extra people to go to the state to transition to F-16. At that point, I realized that they are going to decommission the A7, the whole A7. They decommissioned first on 2002 the H model in Crete, and I don't remember exactly when they decommissioned the Eco model we got from the Americans back in 1992, a few years later. So I said, what the heck, I'm not going to stay here either way. So I applied for the second batch of flyers to go to the States. So initially it wasn't I didn't want to, okay? I did it because I was wrongfully thinking of staying in Hanya. That's the truth. I'm honest, okay? And for some other reason, I didn't want to go to the F-16. Probably I will tell you later if you ask the right question.
Yeah, so let's get on to the F-16. So yeah, obviously we can go on to it now. What were your first thoughts on the jet? I think it's a beautiful jet, but what were your first thoughts?
I was lucky enough to transition to the F-16 in the United States at the international training facility they have in Arizona, just across the Davis Monthan base. I think it's 162nd International Fighters Wing, something like that. At that place, we did the ground courses, and I was lucky enough to have people teaching me the F-16 that either had flown the early versions of the F-16 or technicians that had worked in the production line of the F-16. So I know many, many things about the F-16 that the common people doesn't know. Why the seat is inclined 30 degrees. That was by accident. What are the major flaws of the F-16? The fuel system, the tricycle gear, and many other things, because the jet was not ready to be made when it was approved. But everybody was in a hurry, so they put everything together in a rush, and these things came about. So, but even though I heard these things from these people that they had a vast experience on the technical side and on the flying side of the jet, I wasn't afraid of that. Actually, I love this jet because it's very capable. It's tremendous. It's an electric jet. It's very forgiving, very forgiving. Okay, you can be a bad pilot and still fly efficiently the F-16 and remain your whole career a bad pilot, not a good pilot. Okay, but the F-16 forgives and gives you the tool to be efficient at your job. Okay, that's so. The initial thought was positive on the F-16, very positive. Okay, the hard part was the air-to-air thing.
Mm.
Okay, I was coming from a very different mentality, and that was my biggest obstacle I had to overcome while in the States in my training in the F-16. I had to completely change my mindset of how I am flying this multi-role fighter.
And was the role of the F-16 with the Hellenic Air Force, was it going to be split between air-to-air and air-to-ground, or did it do one more particularly well? Like, was it 70-30? How did that work?
Yes, from the very beginning, we got the F-16s. Each squadron had a major role, a
Mm.
primary role, and secondary role. So back on the days I was transitioned to the F-16 when I got back from the States, 2003, we had some squadrons that was primary role was air to ground. They had all this gizmo stuff, NVGs, targeting pods, nav pods, etc. We have some squadrons dedicated air to air, all the AMRAAM arsenal, the new IR missiles, Lima Mike, M9, etc., IRIS-T. And we had some squadrons primary role in the harm shooting as 343, which was the squadron I was transitioned when I came back to Crete. The A7 were gun, 345 squadron was gun. So I was in the same place, same buildings, different plane, different squadron. The plane was
Mm.
F-16 and the squadron was 343, harm shooter role. So
Harm
yes,
shooter.
we had the primary role and secondary role. But usually in a training around here, you would do everything. Apart from the harm shooting, every squadron would do everything.
And how did you personally find it, going through your ground and flying training in the US? Did you find it was like a complete leap forward from the A7, or was it quite natural for you just to jump in this electric jet?
The first, it was a leap forward. Okay, my training there uh, make me. Uh, I don't know the word exactly in English. Make me complete as a fighter pilot. That's the
Okay.
truth. Okay,
Hmm.
I thought I knew how to do air-to-ground bombing. I was in a pretty good level. I learned a lot of stuff by the American instructors. I learned how to do it in an F-16, which is very potent. It's a very good aircraft. Okay, and then the air-to-air thing came into account. I did. I changed my mindset. I changed the way I think. I think I did well. Not very well though, because as you can say, I was 33 years by that time. So as they say, you cannot teach an old dog new tricks somehow. So
Yeah.
it's very difficult. Yeah, but it's okay. Yes, I think the most the best thing that happened to me when I went to the States for the training was the mentality change, not the cultural shock. I'm not talking about the cultural shock. I'm talking about the mentality that a fighter pilot has to got to be a successful fighter pilot.
Mhm.
That was my biggest uh, gain from being in the States. Okay,
Mm.
that was a very, very different mentality. I mean, these guys, the majority of my instructors there had actually fought in some war.
Oh wow.
Okay, I have an interesting story. Do you know Eric Salomonson, the guy that took out with the A-10, a pair of A-10, took out 32 Iraqi tanks at some point? Have you heard the
It
story?
doesn't ring a bell. I probably heard it, but like, doesn't ring a bell there, Lou. No.
That was my evaluator. I have
Oh
flown with this
really?
guy. Yes, I have flown with this guy 3 times, evaluating me air to ground, BFM, and IFR flights. The most humble guy I have ever seen in my life. And he was one, probably he is still the most achieved A-10 pilot in the world
Wow.
with so many scores, 32 Iraqi tanks in one day. I think 4 or 5 sorties with
Wow.
his wingman. Okay, That guy was training me, okay?
That's
And he
incredible.
was, and he was so humble, so subtle, so calm, and we didn't know anything about that. I heard about him when I came back to Greece. I read about his achievements. And I say now, I feel goosebumps now. I say, what the heck? This guy was flying with me, and he was teaching me, and he was evaluating me, and he has done all these things. I mean, wow, wow.
That is really incredible. And it's great that he was humble because that just makes it even more special rather than bragging, in the bar. So that must have been,
Yeah.
yeah, when you got back, certainly a memory for you, Lou. And I have to ask, what was it like having Afterburner for the first time?
It was not what I expected.
Oh,
I expected, yes, I was expecting to feel
like Star
like
Wars.
no, like Tom Cruise in the first Top Gun, okay?
Ah,
But it wasn't that. Apart from the takeoff and the takeoff with the General Electric engine back in the States, where you put AB, you feel the kick, you go back and accelerate to the runway. You don't feel anything else about the afterburner. Actually, what you need to remember about the afterburner is the fuel consumption. Okay,
mm,
that's a bad thing for many people because when you go after burner, you need to be aware of your fuel. That's why they have put the F-16, the fuel flow gauge at eye level, almost eye level, over there to the right, just below the DED, to see that the fuel consumption, pounds per hour. I mean, goes 45 pounds per hour when you go to the different stage of the afterburner. So yes, afterburner, great tool, but for my humble opinion, not so impressive as I would expect to be. Okay.
wow, I wasn't expecting that. I thought it'd be a real kick in the pants type thing. But yeah, what blocks did the Hellenic Air Force get? Because I think that you've got the ones with the Pratt and Whitney engines and also the GE engines, don't you? Why
Yeah.
was there a mix there?
So we initially got our F-16 back in the 1990. We got Block 30s there.
Hmm.
And then they got the second batch of Block 50s. In the States, I flew the Block 42. So it was a Block 50 with a Pratt Whitney engine because the one we had up to then, up to 2002, they were both with General Electric engines. The Block 30s and Block 50s had General Electric. So when I came back to Greece, I had also some fellow pilots that moved with me to 343 Squadron in Creta that they were coming from other F-16 squadrons with Block 30 and Block 50. And they told me that Block 30, it's a dogfighter.
Hmm.
Block 30 with the G engine, you could win a fight against a Block 50 and Block 52.
Wow.
Okay, because yes, and I have heard the same thing because I watch CW Lemoyne in his channel, and he has mentioned that one or two times about the Block 30 F-16, which is this is the actual dogfighter, the Block 30 with the G engine. Okay, I haven't flown that, so I that's why probably I'm not amazed about the afterburner. That's the reason. Because the Block 40 we had in the States and the Block 52 I flew here for 7 to 8 years, it was not so intense, I could say. Apart from the takeoff, when you release the brake and you put afterburner, apart from that, you couldn't. So another thing, because it's on the subject, uh, going above Mach 1,
Hmm.
what is that? What is that? I think that Chuck Yeager was the only guy that experienced a wow thing going above Mach 1. Because in the F-16 going Mach 1, you are 30, 40,000 feet, and you just see a Mach number goes from 099, 1.01, 1.02. That's nothing. That's all you get.
Oh, so you don't even feel a buffet in the F-16 when you go over Mach 1? Wow, okay.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they was asking me how it is to be supersonic, like every other day. Yeah. Because, yes, because at that altitude, You don't feel anything, you don't see anything, you have only the dials, okay? And
Yes.
the close you rate from your adversary in front of you.
Yes.
That's the only thing you have. Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you got back to Greece, flying the F-16 on your frontline squadron, what was like the average day of an F-16 pilot in your time?
Yeah. So that was 2003 and forward. Um because the squadron was pretty new, we had a very heavy schedule. Probably from the whole 2003, 2004 up to 2005, an average pilot would fly two sorties per day to get combat ready, to do everything air to ground, air to air, and also harm shooting, which is another chapter using the uh, AGM 88 mission. So you would go, let's say the normal was to do 1 day, 1 day flight, 2 days, 2 day flights, and 2 days per week you would do Tuesdays and Thursdays night flying.
Hmm.
Oh yes, it was pretty busy at those days. So usually you would fly on Monday to the first wave in the morning, the second wave in the afternoon. So you will be able to get your crew rest, the 12 hours, to get back the next day to fly at the afternoon wave, take off at about 1 o'clock, and then the night flying. So that would be so Monday 2 day flights, Tuesday would be 1 day flight, one night flight, and because of the night flight on Tuesday, you would go on Wednesday only the second wave day flight, and that's all. And then again Wednesday you would start over a day flight, probably the second wave and a night flight. And in Greece, we don't fly on Fridays.
Oh,
If
really?
you didn't know that, now you know
No.
it. Yes, normally we don't schedule flights on Fridays.
Oh, right.
Friday is a barbecue day, usually in the
Barbecue. I
squadron.
like it.
Yes, every well-respected squadron in Greece, and that's every squadron in Greece, has a very nice barbecue area where you will go there on a good day, sunny day, Friday on a summer, and have a lot of red meat and beer.
That sounds amazing, Lou. But I think, did you ever take the F-16 to Red Flag?
Yes, I was one of the lucky guys that participated in the Red Flag exercise in 2008. That was the other big milestone in my career. Again, in respect of mindset and how modern air forces conduct air operations, mixed air operations, big scale exercises like Red Flag. Yes, it was a blast. It was a blast. Even though I didn't have the opportunity to fly the jet there, some other guys transferred the jet there. I was flying by airlines to go there. It was a blast. 14 to 16 hours per day workload. And even though we lived on a casino, the Blue Nugget Hotel in Las Vegas downtown, we didn't get to have a lot of fun.
Oh,
So work, work, and only work. That was for me the Red Flag experience. But it was great. I mean, great, great.
yeah. So did you work with closely with the F-16 units over there? The Americans probably over there.
No, strangely enough, when we got there, our primary body was F-15s. So we did the majority of the missions. So we went there as harm shooters, but what we actually did there was air-to-air missions only.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yes, so even though the primary role of the squadron was harm shooting, we didn't do that in the Red Flag. We participated in the major DCA or OCA packages, so offensive counter air or defensive counter air. So at some day we would go and attack the enemy air defenses. So big BVR scenarios, shooting AMRAAMs all the way against the aggressors. Another day we would defend some area, doing CAP, etc. But our bodies at that time were F-15 squadrons, Eagles. Yes. So we flew the Americans a lot with the Eagles. At that time, we were Italian Hornets, I think. I'm not sure. For sure, there were Spanish Hornets, Italians with F-16. I'm not sure about that. My mind doesn't help me a lot in that because, and the reason for that is it was very hard for me. I
Yeah.
mean, the most what I remember most of the red flag, it is how tired I was every day.
No
Yes.
Fridays for barbecues, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, that must have been fun. So there was no social side to it really. You just we just literally work and then off to bed.
yeah, for me, yes. Some younger guys, yes, they had their time in the
Hmm.
casinos, but not me, not me.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess you probably have many again, but can you maybe share a few experiences and stories from your time flying the F-16?
One thing that it was, how can I say, strange for me was my first readiness, combat readiness, guarding with a pair in a remote island at the southern east part of Greece. Um, readiness state 5 minutes. So the first thing was if you do this on a summer with your gear on for 16 days, sitting in front of a television, all gear up, only the helmet was away in the rack,
Wow.
sitting on a couch, watching TV, playing cards, playing backgammon all day, hunting flies. That's the more hunting flies I did in my whole career, yes. Yes, because what can you do? You had be in there, in this room, next to a black phone, which when the black phone rings, you grab your helmet, you run to the jet and take off. 5 minutes tops. If you are 5 minutes, 1 second, when you get back, you will get a phone call from the chief of staff. Why you were 1 minute, 1 second late on the takeoff.
Wow.
So that was the first thing. Also, yeah, it was, I don't remember the exact word. It was wearing out. You were wear out with anticipation. You sat there, fully geared up, waiting for this phone call. So I got scrambled once successfully, hopefully, with an average to let's say rookie number two. Everything went well. I have kept the tape of that interception. Okay, so I had the opportunity only once to meet the opponent. It's a real fight, as everybody says. The only difference is that the Master Army is on simulate mode. That's the only difference. Apart from that, when a Greek pilot scrambles for to intercept an intruder, it's actual combat. I haven't seen actual combat. I just had a taste of that air-to-air combat, hunting down intruding aircraft. So yes, that's a thing. That's a thing.
Yeah, so how many hours did you actually get on the F-16, and did you enjoy it coming from the A7 community?
About 830 hours, something close to 800 hours. But it was not so fun like the F-16, like
Oh,
the
really? Well, okay.
A7. Yeah. I enjoyed A7 10 times more than the F-16. Okay, the major reason for that was the environment of the community.
Hmm.
Mentality on the F-16 community in Greece, it's way different than the mentality in the A7 community. And I have a very interesting story to tell you about that, about the different mentalities, and goes back to the story when I told you about we were flying a 24 ship A7, a gorilla package to Skiros, and I was got shot down with my um wing leader. John. After we finish the flight, we get back to Hanya, the 24th aircraft, but the next day we should go to the headquarters in Larissa, tactical headquarters, to attend the mass debriefing of this flight. Because in this flight we are involved some 55 aircraft. So we went to this flight and first started talking about the results on air to ground. So the guy that was responsible for this exercise stood up. He showed a few slides and he said, "Okay, the A7 from Suda Bay, they managed to destroy all their targets. Yay, applause, everything went well. And now for the air-to-air part." So the debriefing for the air-to-ground phase was 10 minutes. The debriefing for the air-to-air phase was 3 hours.
Jesus Christ.
Why it was 3 hours? Because the F-16 guys that were defending the targets with the Mirage 2000 guys that was also defending the targets, with the F1 guys protecting the A7, they got in this never-ending discussion about who shot who. If your missile shot were a chip shot or it was out of envelope, because back on those days we didn't have ACMI, we didn't have any means of electronically digital debriefing. So it was my word against your word. At that point, after the second hour, sitting on the back of the amphitheater there, uh, I was leaning to my fellow A7 pilot next to me, and I was saying, "What is this? Why we are here? We went to the target, we destroyed the target. Why we are discussing about who shot who? I don't care. We dropped the bombs, we destroyed the targets, we won." And that was a mentality that was first encountered there while I was flying A7. And I experienced this mentality when I transitioned to A7 to F-16, and I was doing air to air, and we spent countless hours trying to prove who shot who. Okay, I shot you, you didn't shot me, you were too high, you were low aspect, high aspect, cheap shot, pitbull. Oh man, that was endless. That was endless. I mean, the ego to the roof, okay, of some people.
Yeah. I'll tell you a quick story here, Lou. A friend of mine who was an ex Jaguar pilot, obviously air to ground, he went
Yeah,
into an air to air brief and he said, "If I'm going to hell, it's to listen to an air to air brief." He's like, it was about 3.5 hours long. He was like, that was the
exactly.
worst thing ever.
Yeah. So that was the major problem I had to deal with when I was in the F-16 squadron, the mentality. Okay, you have a target, you have a scope, you have an objective. Can you do the objective? Yes or no? Everything else doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Who shot who? Okay, who missile was trust? Who missile was active? I don't care. Okay. So that was my major problem being in the F-16 community. Ego.
Ego, absolutely. So, do you have any hobbies?
Hobbies. I used to have many hobbies as I was aging. I started with the plastic models before I entered the academy. When then I entered the academy, I became a fighter pilot, and at some point, I started with computers. I got my first Amstrad 464 back in 1986, I think.
Nice.
Okay, and I stuck with computers back then. Since then, when I was retired in 2010, uh, because I like to do many things, and I am this kind of guy that wants to know how things work. So I entered a technical university that was here in Hanya at that day. I got my bachelor degree in electronic engineering, and I really enjoyed that process, being a student again and learning what still amazes me, which is the current technology, still baffles me. the evolution of the technology and all this stuff, hardware, software. I'm very into that. I got my master's degree. Now I'm doing my PhD in the same university. Okay, and I wouldn't say lucky. I was cursed back in 2020 when I encountered DCS, Digital Combat Simulator, for the first time, and I was stuck. I mean, literally stuck. I spent all my money of getting a computer, going from one screen, 70 inches, to three screens, 25 inches, to a big screen of 55 inches, and then to VR. And the VR was the milestone that hit me in the middle of the face. So I stuck with DCS. I fly every day using VR because I mean the technology, it's amazing. It's like the real thing. The only thing that differentiates what I fly in the VR, my VR pit, from the real life is the G's. The adrenaline is the same. The rush is the same. The heart pumping is the same. Okay. And I tell you that honestly because I have done the real thing. And when I went to the VR thing of the DCS, especially with all these great graphics, etc., that was it. That was it. And that's why, to close the story about the hobbies, I decided to do my hobby a job. So I just recently opened a business in Hanya offering this VR flight, combat flight experience to normal people. Because here, a lot of people love aviation, especially military aviation. We have a very strong feelings about fighter pilots here. But the only opportunity that a normal average Joe downtown in Hanya or in Athens can see these things is during November, 8th of November, where we have this celebration of our guardian saint, Saint Michael, the angel Michael and Gabriel. We celebrate them. They are the protectors of the Air Force. So in 8th of November each year, all the bases open. We have a stationary exhibition, etc. But that's it. So you cannot actually have a place in Greece where you can show, you can see by your own eyes and listen by somebody who knows how is to be a fighter pilot. So that's why I opened this business in Hanya. And this is the venue I'm talking to you right now. Behind me is the corner that I have set up for people to take pictures. I call it the corner of the hero corner.
Love it.
All these pictures, yes, this is from Red Flag, and that one is from the A7, etc. And all these plaques I got, etc. And that is my main occupation now, running this business and offer people the opportunity to see as close as the technology offers for now how is to be a fighter pilot.
Absolutely. And where can we find that online for our viewers to go and check out?
Yeah, I have the name of the business is Fighter Pilot X. So if you go fighterpilotx.com, I have a website there, both in Greek and English, or you can learn information about the business. I have also the Instagram page, Fighter Pilot X separated with underscores, and the Facebook page with Fighter Pilot X again, where I'm trying to get the hang of social media business promoting at the moment, learning how to make shorts. And yesterday I was reading what is the difference between a reel and a short. So
Yes.
yes, I keep learning. That's my. I think if you would ask me which is my main advantage as a person, is that the growing mindset, growth mindset. I keep learning every day. If one day I don't learn something new, it's a wasted day for me.
Yes, absolutely. I'm on board with that, Lou, but that's great stuff. And that'll be linked in the description. Next
Yeah, thank you.
question. I think I probably know the answer to this one. Favorite aircraft you've flown?
Let me think. Yes, you know, A7 all the time. I have another short story to tell you about that.
Go for it.
On my final flight in the States, final flight, this flight would give me the signature that I'm combat ready in F-16, I can go back to Greece. It was with the base commander, the highest ranking officer in the base at that point. So I went to the briefing, I didn't know that. I didn't know the names of the pilots evaluating me. So I go for my first flight, evaluation flight, qualification flight, if you could say so. And that guy shows up about my height, 170, 1 meter 70 centimeters, way heavier than me. I mean, he was big, wearing glasses, yay thick, 1 centimeter thick, and he was the base commander, and he would be my evaluator. We sat down. I start the briefing. At some point, he said, "Me stop, stop, stop. I see here on your file that you used to fly A7," and I said yes. And that was the point that the briefing stopped. The briefing ended. He started telling me he had by that time he had flown the A7. He was one of the guys that took part in the Libya 1988 missions
Wow.
there with the A7. He was in the first Gulf War. He had 3,300 hours in the slab, and for the rest 40 minutes he was telling me stories about A7 and how great this aircraft was, and I was completely into that. And I also shared my stories about A7, and we both uh, shared our sadness of decommissioning this aircraft. The Americans decommissioned that because it had reached its structural limit on the main beam of the wing.
Mhm.
They stressed the jet so much, so they had no other way than decommission that. And I was very sad because in Greece this was not the case. We could still have the A7 flying. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's
So
sad that it went away. But
that's why A7 is the best.
there we go. There we go. Um, Next one. Is there an aircraft you would like to fly that you haven't, either past or present?
Yes, yes. I would like to fly in real life. I always wanted to the F5.
Oh,
Hopefully,
really?
hopefully, yeah, yeah. I always looking up to this plane, and I was admiring the shape of this plane, like the Coca-Cola bottle if you see it from
Yeah.
top. And lucky enough, this plane is in on DCS. It's one of my favorites, and now I understand some stories I have heard back in those times from the F5 pilots that used to fly the F5 here in Greece. Uh, it is a jet that it will make you a man as a pilot.
Mm.
I'm completely into that, and probably that's the reason why the Americans still have the T-38. Okay, no HUD, quite quirky, many things to take care. Not a lot of study, but you need to have the right pilot aviator mindset to fly this jet. I love this jet. I wish I could have flown this F5. Yes.
Yeah, and I think the T-38 must be at least 60 years old plus now.
Yeah, and they still use it, and they still use it as a basic trainer because uh, obviously it's what I just said. It makes you a pilot. It offers you things to learn that you need to learn to be a fighter pilot. Okay, if you don't learn these things, probably you are not a good fighter pilot.
Absolutely. We got one last one here to wrap up, Lou, from one of our viewers. What do you think the future holds for the Hellenic Air Force? Will we see F-35 coming in?
Yeah, of course. That thing is this deal is closed for I think 12 or 14, and they are examining right now the option. I don't know if it is classified, but I know where they're gonna be stationed in Andravida. Okay, that's the good place. That's the correct place for F-35 to be there. Uh, yeah, the 35s. We have the Vipers, great jet. Didn't have the opportunity to sit one of them because still the safety restrictions, the security restrictions are very hard on
Mm.
base. So even though my face goes long here in Hanya, I cannot visit. I cannot sit on an
Wow.
F-16 Viper yet. Yeah, no, I have just heard stories, and I have seen some sneak pictures of that, but that's all. So yes, the bright of the Hellenic, the future of the Hellenic Air Force looks bright from now. I mean, from the point we are standing now. I don't know what could happen because politics gets in the way all of the time. Politics was the reason that they commissioned the A7. That's the truth. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens all over the world with air forces. We see it all the time. But just one more point to wrap up. One of my favourite F-16 displays was Zeus. I thought that was
Yeah.
an absolutely amazing display. Unfortunately, I don't think I've not seen it for a couple of years now. I don't know what happened to it, but what a great display that was.
Yeah. This thing amazes me still when I see it from the ground.
Mm.
I was in the squadron when the first pilot start training. The first pilot was from 343 squadron, the squadron I used to fly. So I was in the squadron when the American guy was there training my fellow pilot, and I was lucky enough to see the training from the ground and see the tapes and watch the debriefings.
Brilliant.
And even now, when I see this jet, I'm like jaw dropping thing, like this. Yeah, amazing.
Absolutely. Well, Lou, thank you very much for coming on the show and sharing a bit of your story. Everything will be linked to his company in the description below. But yeah, thanks very much for your time.
I thank you, Mike. I thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about these things because I love to speak about these things.
Absolutely, and
Thank
we
you.
love to hear it. Cheers. Thank you.
See you.